Imagine moving into what you thought would be your dream neighborhood. Peaceful streets, friendly neighbors, kids riding bikes. But instead, you discover it's run by a petty dictator. That was my reality. The HOA president thought he could find me, bully me, and steal from us all without consequence. He had no idea I was already planning his downfall. If you've ever wished you could serve justice to someone abusing power, smash that like button right now. Subscribe, because this is one of the most satisfying takedowns you'll ever hear. I moved into my suburban neighborhood with one simple expectation: peace. I'd worked hard to buy my house. I wanted to plant a garden, sip coffee on my porch, and live quietly. But I wasn't moving into a neighborhood. I was moving into Todd's kingdom. Todd was the HOA president, and if you've ever dealt with an HOA president on a power trip, you know exactly the kind of man I'm talking about. The kind of man who loves control but hates accountability. Within my first month, I learned Todd's favorite game: fines. Leave your trash can out 1 minute past 9 a.m., $200. Your blinds aren't the right shade of beige? That'll be $300. Kids chalk on the sidewalk? $50 penalty. But the hypocrisy? That's what burned. Todd's own yard looked like a junkyard. His fence was taller than allowed, he built structures without permits, and he parked his boat in front of his house in clear violation of the rules. And then came my fine. My fence stain didn't match the approved shade. The store literally didn't have the exact color in stock, and I had the receipt to prove it. Still, Todd slapped me with a $500 fine. When I politely explained, Todd smirked. He leaned back, crossed his arms, and said, "Rules are rules. Pay it or I'll double it." That was the moment. The moment my frustration hardened into something sharper. Not rage, not despair, revenge. And I wasn't going to scream or beg or start a shouting match in the street. No, I was going to dismantle Todd piece by piece, legally, methodically, and make sure he never recovered. Step 1, become the inside man. Todd's first mistake: he thought I was weak. So I volunteered for the HOA board. I put on my best smile and said I wanted to get more involved in the community. Todd grinned. He thought he just recruited another pawn. For 2 years, I played the role of the naive rookie. I nodded through meetings, stayed quiet during arguments, and carefully took notes. And oh, did I learn. Todd ruled by intimidation. He bullied weaker board members, buried them in paperwork, and scheduled surprise votes when only his loyalists were present. Anyone who tried to resist mysteriously found their paperwork lost. I stayed patient. I let him think he was untouchable. But then, I discovered his real weakness. Step 2, follow the money. Todd always bragged about how responsible he was with HOA finances, but something didn't add up. Our HOA fees were much higher than neighborhoods nearby, yet the pool was closed half the summer, the landscaping looked abandoned, the playground equipment was falling apart. Where was the money going? I requested the budget. Todd waved me off with a smirk. "Don't worry, I've got it handled." That only fueled my suspicion. So I started talking to neighbors. Turns out, I wasn't the first person curious about the money. Homeowners had been requesting the budget for years, and every single one had been ignored. One neighbor told me Todd had used HOA funds to install a brand new patio at his house. Another swore Todd's kids swam in the closed-for-maintenance community pool. I filed a formal request for the financial records. Under HOA bylaws, he was legally required to provide them. He stalled, he delayed, he ignored me. That was fine. I wasn't going anywhere. Step 3. Build the case. Finally, Todd caved. He handed over the financial documents, and they were a train wreck. Invoices missing, payments mislabeled, huge unexplained expenses. There was a $15,000 payment to a landscaping company that didn't exist. Thousands under administrative costs with no receipts. And then the smoking gun. I traced HOA bank statements and cross-referenced them with public records. Todd had been funneling money into his personal accounts. He was embezzling. Even worse, he was inflating contractor fees, pocketing the difference, and splitting profits with his shady contractor buddy. I didn't just have suspicions anymore. I had proof. I compiled everything into a massive report. Spreadsheets, side-by-side comparisons, even sworn statements from neighbors. And then I waited. Step 4. The coup. The annual HOA meeting was coming. Usually, only a handful of bored homeowners showed up. This time, I made sure it would be different. I knocked on doors for weeks. I told neighbors just enough to get them angry and curious. I promised the truth would come out if they attended. On the night of the meeting, the room was packed. Todd strutted in like a king addressing his subjects. He launched into his usual speech about how difficult it was to manage the HOA, how much he'd sacrificed, how we should all trust him. That's when I stood up. Calm, controlled, ready. I asked Todd to explain some discrepancies in the budget. He laughed nervously. I don't think this is the time or place. I smiled. Actually, Todd, it's the perfect time. I began handing out copies of my report, page after page of evidence. The room transformed. Whispers turned into gasps, gasps into outrage. People shouted. Todd's face drained of color as homeowners read where their hard-earned fees had gone. He stammered, he yelled, he tried to shut down the meeting, but it was too late. I called for a vote. By the end of the night, Todd was out. Step 5. The final blow. Once Todd was removed, we brought in an independent auditor, and they confirmed everything. Todd had embezzled over $50,000. He'd mismanaged tens of thousands more. Fraud, theft, betrayal. We reported him to the police, filed a civil lawsuit. His contractor buddy was banned from doing business in the county. Todd had to sell his house to pay restitution and legal fees. His reputation? Shattered. He couldn't even join another HOA board because now when people Googled his name, the first one that came up was embezzlement. Meanwhile, we restructured our HOA. Term limits, transparent budgets, multiple signatures required for expenses. Homeowners had online access to every document. The dictatorship was gone. Now, every time I walk past Todd's old house, owned by a lovely new family, I smile. The pool is sparkling. The landscaping is beautiful. Our HOA fees are lower than ever. And Todd? He lives in a nearby town, a bitter man with no power, no friends, and no respect. Justice wasn't just served. It was carved, plated, and garnished. Sometimes revenge doesn't look like yelling in someone's face. Sometimes it looks like patience, documentation, persistence. Because in the end, the truth always comes out, and when it does, it's devastating. If this story gave you chills, hit that like button and tell me in the comments, what's the most satisfying revenge you've ever seen? Don't forget to subscribe because I've got more stories of karma you won't believe.